Jasmine is a massive platform. Like you were just saying, there are tons of models, there are tons of members, and everyone's part of it for their own unique reasons. And I'm curious for you, what would you say is the main reason that you're on Jasmine? What benefit is it bringing to your life?
People usually go there for a certain thing, but a lot of times it's just still simply human connection, you know, and it's still, we're all still humans, and it's just nice to connect with other people because it's not just maybe what you think it is on the site. It's a lot of like a lot of just talking and humans connecting in general, you know. Apart from that, it's just like a window to the world because it's always kind of blown my mind how many people from other countries are on it. So it's really interesting just to be able to talk to people from other countries, and kind of especially, you know, during the pandemic too, it was interesting. It was nice to have like a connection to other people and kind of see what they were doing and kind of how they were dealing with it, and just being able to talk to people from so many other countries is pretty cool, pretty like amazing. Just because there's people from Europe and South America and all these other places, so it's really interesting to see. I think you can kind of make whatever experience you want. I think there's sections on the site where I think there's certain models available, and they prefer just to be available for just talking or just for like friendship purposes or more casual. You know, it's not, or it's like more, I guess, lighter, you know, or a different kind of side of it. But I like to, if I'm, you know, when I'm connecting with somebody, I like to get to know them, and I like to like talk to them a little first. I don't like to maybe go straight to business right away, you know. So I think it depends on the person. I think if you want just that, you can have that, and I think a lot of people do. But if you if you want to have a different kind of connection, I think you can as well. And I think you know, at least for me, I like to talk to people, get to know them first, get to know them a little bit on a personal level, and I think a lot of models do like that and appreciate that, but some models also don't. They're just there maybe for one thing, or they just want to maybe. I have had seen models sometimes want to get more straight to business versus like becoming more like uh, friendly, or you know, becoming friends or having that connection. So I think for every person on the site, you can kind of customize it, or at least you can try for the things that you're interested in. You know, so you can sort of customize it depending on your needs or your wants. There is a connection that develops, and it's just like being friends in real life. I think even though we're not in the same country, it's like you still develop a connection and a little bond there, and you know, it's like seeing an old friend. So I think because she's just always been very warm and very kind and like genuinely interested. We'll talk about things, and she'll ask me about things that I'm doing, and she remembers stuff about me, and it's, you know, we talk about lots of different things. It's not just, you know, like I said, it's not just the one thing. So yeah, she's always just been like very warm and yeah, just very very kind, you know.
How, like on a scale of 1 to 10,
Uh-huh.
how fulfilling would you say your connection with the model is that you've mentioned? Is it like, and 10 being as fulfilling as like a in-person relationship would be?
Oh, huh. With her specifically, or is anyone?
I would say her specifically only because it sounds like that's who you've connected with the most, and I'm curious about the level of connection. But if there is a model you've connected with even more deeply, we could use that model.
Um, that's a good question, because I don't know if it could ever be equal to a real life, you know, connection. Obviously, that would be preferred, but
Of course.
so I don't know if it can ever be. But I mean, as far as like, I think as far as a fulfilling experience in this kind of scenario can be, I think it has been. Um, I guess like, I think that I don't think I'm fooling myself. I know Jasmine is still a business at the root of it, and you go to any business for X or Y, So if you're going to, I don't know, um, anything, if I go to like, I don't think this is a good analogy at all, but if you go to like a restaurant or whatever, then you know what you're gonna get. You're like, oh, that was a great meal or whatever it might be. So I feel like uh, might be a dumb analogy, but
No, that's a great analogy. I think because what you're saying is you're very clear on the roles of the situation, right?
yeah, 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 exactly. So I'm not really fooling myself to where oh, this is gonna blossom into a real life relationship, or I don't think I'm you know thinking anything like that. But I think as far as like going to a place to get what I'm looking for or whatever, then I think it's been as fulfilling as probably it can be. I think
Right.
it's in that sense, I guess it would be a 10. Yeah. So
Okay, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Like for what you're needing, given the circumstance, it is 100% fulfilling for that.
uh-huh. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because you still only have so much time and money, honestly, to dedicate to it. So I can go there and sort of get my needs fulfilled in whatever they might be, and it's nice. It's a nice experience. It's a great experience. So I don't know. I think sex work is valid, and it's like, I think a vital like thing needed in the world. So I don't really want to have or put any shame on it. So I don't think I would, but I don't think I have personally
Hmm.
with my friends. Yeah.
It's so interesting because you know, especially with the explosion of some of these platforms like OnlyFans, but this type of like content is a $1 trillion industry, which shows that there are a lot of people that are using it. You know what I mean?
Obviously, yeah. Yep, it's needed, and I think sometimes I'm like, thank God this exists, because I think there are, you know a lot of people out there that are probably uh, like probably lonelier than I am, or I'm not trying to make it sound better or worse, but I think there's just different situations out there,
Yeah.
and there's different levels of need. So sometimes I think that it's, or maybe sometimes people live in certain, I think especially in the United States, there can be a lot of stigma attached with sex in general, and we don't always like to, especially depending on where you live, people don't like to talk about it, or it seems a little more repressed in other places, in certain places. So at least they can. It's so great that it's available, and people can feel free to be themselves and ask for what they want, and you know kind of be themselves, because they might not be able to do that in their own private lives, or the regular lives.
That is so true. And that's like one of the conversations I've had repeatedly where these experts are bringing up that fact is that for some reason, culture, we're really like quiet about our sexuality, but it's just such a big part of who we are as humans. We're just naturally very sexual beings, right? And so we
Yeah.
all like have to hide that and keep it
Yeah.
quiet. And they said it's just really unhealthy.
Yeah, yeah. I think oftentimes I'm like, this is what, sometimes I wonder why I have this. I feel like I have a high drive or need for it. But then I think about it, I'm like, that's what we're designed to do. It's like we're supposed to,
Yeah.
make more humans and survive, like make the species survive. And so I try not to beat myself up about it too much.
Yeah, and see, and that just shows how like deep things are that we would even beat ourselves up about it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
um, you mentioned that you feel like platforms like Jasmine are needed and sex work is needed. Can you talk to me more about your perspective of why?
Well, I think I already touched on it because I think some people like, are raised certain ways to think that, I don't know, growing up I was so scared of sex, and sometimes you're taught that all sex is bad, or or like there's all this, can be like guilt, and apart from the medical things you got to worry about, pregnancy or STDs, stuff like that. You can grow up feeling really repressed or scared about it, and then you feel bad for liking this thing that you're supposed to like, and so, and especially like I said, in the States, like I think other countries are a lot more free about that sort of thing. It's really interesting about America, 'cause we tend to be very prudish about sex, but glorify weapons and stuff. It's really weird and kind of bizarre that we can't show a nipple or something, but we can buy guns and like glorify all this other stuff that's kind of way more harmful, and so and I've seen things like that pointed out, and it's so. Also, I guess just because I've had just that kind of similar experience where I felt like, because I was also very shy, and like I get kind of scared to sometimes talk to women and stuff because I was naturally shy, and then there's all this stigma and stuff about like I always feel scared to come off as like a creep or something, because there's always like I have a lot of like female friends, and I hear a lot of stories about how like, oh, there's this creepy guy and blah blah, and like, a lot of women have these like really weird and negative experiences with men and stuff, so I never want to come across that way. So for many reasons I think Jasmine is cool, because you can just talk to people and kind of not feel that fear. I just think it's beneficial in a lot of ways, whether it's there's a big physical and a big mental part of why I think sex work is very like necessary, and plus like some people, I honestly think that some people out there probably might not get any kind of what's the word, maybe physical connection or mental connection if it wasn't for sex work. So it's just like I think every human craves connection and craves love, and even if it's for a little bit, I think it's necessary. Like people are still humans. They need to be. Everybody wants to be loved, or at least like have that feeling. So.
Yeah, I think that that's the biggest motivator in life, to be honest. Like underneath it all, we think it's the car that we want or the money that we want or whatever, but it's because we want to be loved, and we think maybe those things will make us more lovable. And you're right, like people feel very loved and connected with what is called sex work. Although it's interesting because with camming specifically, two people never even touch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and I think, but there is a sense of fulfillment still, and that just shows that like a lot of it is
Mental.
really mental. Yeah, and like I said, that's why I like to connect with people. I like to talk to people first and get to know them and have that little connection first. It's a little harder for me to just be about the physical part, but yeah. So I think it's necessary, and I guess like yeah, like I think a lot of people experience trauma or have a rough childhood or something, so they have trouble maybe sustaining relationships, or maybe having just connections with people. They can be kind of you know um, maybe just not have the best people skills when they grow up. So it's nice to just have like this other thing where you can practice that without, I think that's why people, in a way, I think it's sort of like likened to therapy. It's like that's why people sometimes can't talk to their friends and family about certain things, but they can go to therapy and not have that stigma or guilt, and just can talk about anything. So it's kind of like, in a way, I think it's really valuable, that side of it, about just having the freedom to be yourself and to talk about things, that you might not share with other people. So
100%. And first of all, I need to say everything you've really said very well. Certain concepts that I actually haven't even thought about before, really interesting points. Even, the fact like our culture, we kind of romanticize violence, but we tear down sexuality, which is innately in us. Violence, I think, is actually much more learned. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
um, and just saying, like you brought up another great point, which is that platforms like Jasmine kind of allow people who may have some type of trauma or discomfort or maybe whatever it is, practice those social skills, or not even social skills, but just talk about something that they don't really feel comfortable having anyone that knows them directly, know, or knows anyone they know, like just that non-biased.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes when someone doesn't know you, you feel more free to talk about things, or there's less pressure.
Yeah, it's almost like we have to keep up in maybe an image for the people that know us, or maybe we just don't want them to be concerned about us, or maybe, whatever the case is, like we don't want their judgmental feedback. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think it's good, and probably, I don't know, maybe it's some of the models too are feeling at least free. They can go there and run their room the way they want and express themselves, and make money. So, it's probably, I think it's hopefully it's beneficial to both sides.
I have heard that from the models themselves, and the experts have confirmed that yes, the connection is mutual. It goes both ways.
I'm grateful for many like modern conveniences, and even though um, sex work isn't modern, but in this format, I think it's really valuable.
Well, this has been an incredible interview.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for giving us your time.
Sure. Yeah, it's been fun. I was kind of like a little hesitant at first because, I get a bunch of like scam emails all the time. I'm like, I don't know if this is another kind of scammy kind of thing. But then I was looking up. I think you sent me a link, and I was looking up some of the interviews. And I'm like, oh, that's cool that they're doing interviews and trying to get to know people, and that's really cool because, you know, I'm hoping it's still a business, but that's really great that you guys are trying to see who's actually using the site and really seeing and showing that they're humans and they're not just a number to you guys. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, that makes me happy that you can feel that in this, because that's exactly what we're trying to do here. And I really appreciate you contributing your story and your thoughts to it, because the points you shared were just right on the mark, as far as I think how a lot of people feel, but don't all have the opportunity to say. So thank
Mm-hmm.
you.
No problem. Thank you. It's a pleasure. Yeah. Good to meet you and everything. I thought you did a good job.
Thank you. I'm happy to hear that.
Thank you. Bye.